replace seamen with rocks. Well, we're short of crew, so let's load more rocks on so we get better balance. And they seem to sink just fine. When people build replicas of the Gokstad fairing, I don't seem to have a picture of the Gokstad fairing. That's a small one. If you go to our display cabinet, it's the 20-footer, very sharp V bottom. When they build replicas of her, because there's good plans for her, she's a small vessel, she's a reasonable 1 or 3 man project. The first thing they do is they remark on her instability. The first person in has to have a fine sense of balance, trust me. She's sort of to the wrong side of a canoe. You step on board and you go this way and she goes like that. I've gotten on board with about 3 inches of freeboard on one side. The solution to most of the people who build the replicas is they go and bolt about 200 pounds of lead ballast to the keel. Then she behaves like a proper 20th century vessel. But if you load in, once you get on board, you hold the balance and you load in 2 or 3 or 4 crew, she sits down and she behaves herself. Once again, crew and practice makes all the difference. If you've got cargo, you use cargo. If you got people, you use people. If you have to put in rocks, you can put in rocks. But what I'd be really interested in on the very few shipwrecks that we have from this age is there any wear pattern showing big boulders being dragged on board and off board all the bloody time? And I don't think I've ever seen anything on the photographs that indicate that they're dragging boulders on board and throwing boulders over the side. Let me tell you, in Greenland, in Newfoundland, this sucker's full of rocks. That's the only landing, the only good landing up there. They were pulling it up. They had to lighten it. They took all their rocks and they threw them over the side right in the best landing place.
Yeah. Well.
And this is, okay, so we're running 60 feet and a 17-foot beam, and these are all the people trying to move it. And it took twice as many more block and tackle to get her up into the boat shed. And there she has stayed because maybe people took notes. So, once again, you know, the question remains, did they use ballast? You use ballast when you have to use ballast. If you don't have to use ballast, don't use ballast. Also, the dearth of classic shipwrecks of Viking ships. You don't find many. You find one that had been burned to the waterline and she sank. You find the ones in the harbor at Skodalev. They've been weighted with rocks because they've been sunk as block ships in the harbor. They've got lots of rocks. But normally you don't find them. And an archaeologist from Scotland who did lovely work on the Spanish Armada ships off of Scotland, I asked him why, you know, any sign of Viking ships? He says, of course not. When they shipwreck, they float. They'll keep floating until they hit the beach. Then they get smashed to little splinters and they go away. If there were Viking ships full of rocks all over the Baltic, archaeology would be a lot easier. Oh, my time's pretty good, actually. One of my books, it's all in German, so I looked at the pictures a lot, has some really nice pictures of boat hook points and other iron artifacts recovered from European rivers and dating from the age of migration forward. Here I am with the boat hook eye forge. A simple job, great use to the ship. You can see the proud smith here. The hook there, we find particularly useful when you've got jet skiers who come too close. If you get off right here, they'll spin around, and it's really great. Coast Guard's a little cute, but we have fun. So here I'm showing off this wonderful boat hook. And then one of our crew said, "Are you serious? You're going to waste part of your theoretical lifetime allotment of 2 kilograms of iron on a boat hook for a diddly